Well, greetings and salutations, everyone. I hope everyone is doing well, and welcome to, depending on wherever you may live or however you may look at your clock, this early morning or middle of the night bonus upload. Before we jump into it, a couple links. As many of you know, I rely on Patreon, PayPal, channel membership, and the merch to help the channel to continue to grow and go. Links to Patreon, PayPal, and channel membership is in the description below. Merch displayed directly under the video. Also, Dogman Frightening Encounters, Volume 1 through 3, the audiobook versions. They all were written and researched by Tom Lyons, narrated and produced by me, Jeff Nadolny. Those audiobooks are available on Audible, Amazon, and iTunes, links to which are also in the description as well. Finally, last but definitely not least, if you'd really like to help support the channel to continue to grow and go, simply subscribe. It does not cost a cent. Click the like button, takes half a second. If you don't want to miss out on any of the informative uploads I put out daily, click the bell icon. And folks, please leave a comment and share this video. Why? Well, because all these things really do help the channel to continue to grow and go, and folks, they definitely matter. Now, everyone, I have taken far too much of your time. Let's jump in to this middle of the night or early morning bonus upload, shall we? Today's first experience on the paranormal side. This is from when I was a security guard, used to fill in extra coverage at various sites. I'm one of those guys they can send anywhere, and during this time, I fill in shifts at some 60 different projects. Little background. First off, I know not all believe in otherworldly things. No cheese off of my biscuit. You do you. I'm not here to tell you you are wrong. I can only share what I've experienced for myself and leave you to draw your own conclusions. I'm assigned to an extended coverage over the better part of a year in a 100-year-old haunted building in downtown area of our major city. I will spend most of my weekend nights patrolling while they are in the process of reconstruction and asbestos removal. Every weekend I arrive to find a different area inaccessible due to asbestos removal or other construction needs. The project takes longer as a fair amount of the building is being actively used by businesses, which makes the reconstruction trickier. Many of the changes being made are a postmodern insult to the classic features of the building. It hurts my heart to watch the beautiful and elegant appointments give way to the new stylish and moronic ones. The bathrooms had solid granite stall dividers, now they feature mundane modern metal ones. Classic 100-year-old chandeliers get replaced by LED moon ring lights. It's like putting bright lipstick and rave glasses on the Mona Lisa. At the beginning of the construction, there are two side hallways that remain intact from the original building out of the building and that feature the original office configuration. They will both be destroyed before the construction is finished. One of them is on the 12th floor, and even in the brightest light of day, that particular corridor is oppressive and creepy. You simply cannot get enough light into that space to make it feel bright and cheery. Now, I am told tales by the tenants and staff of various deaths associated with the building over its 100-year history. A lawyer shot by his jilted lover on the top floor. It was the long-forgotten trial of the century from the same century that saw the O.J. Simpson case. She was also acquitted, despite having confessed to doing it. The young woman in white who reportedly tried to fly from the roof and failed. A 3-year-old who cries in the basement. Something to do with childhood measles, I am told. But nowhere do I find any reports that feature the 12th floor. That notwithstanding, there is something dark and brooding in that corridor. If the light is out down that hallway at night, I shine my flashlight down it and quickly move on. The full moon. Now, there is one particular active night, by which I mean the whole building seems to be vibrating with energy and strange things are afoot. It is the 13th of the month, and a full moon at that. Wielded scaffolding in one area under construction is in a different location on every patrol. I never see or hear it move, but it's all over the place that night. Now, this has happened before and remains a creepy curiosity, but this night it was just more than normal. On the second top floor, I see what appears to be a shadow of another person coming up behind me, and from the position of its head relative to my own, they are maybe 5 feet away when I spin around and see nothing, just an empty hallway. Looking back the other way, the second shadow is gone, and so I go on quickly to the 12th floor. As I walk down the long main corridor towards the creepy side corridor, I feel like I'm being watched. I look down that creepy pit of darkness without use of a light, and there, to my horror, see in the blackest black, against the black, the shadow figure of a man standing in the middle of the hall, with his head flopped to one side in the most unnatural way. If not for it being at eye level, it really looks like a hanging man. With no hesitation, I shine my flashlight down the hall to get a better look and see nothing, just an empty hallway. I lower the flashlight again, and now it's just a black hallway. The figure does not reappear in the returning darkness. I've had enough of that corridor for the night. I will not patrol it again this shift. I turn and go down the stairs to the 11th floor. I have this intense feeling that I should watch my step, like someone or something wishes to push me down the stairs. I grip the rails on both sides, and as I descend a few steps down, I feel a gust of air at my back. There is nothing in the building that can produce a draft on these stairs. This weekend is the only time I ever felt a gust of air on any of the stairs in that building. But now, while feeling like I need to watch my step, I do. In the early mornings, shortly before sunrise, I turn the keys over to my relief for the next 12 hours. I say nothing to him about the events of that night. When I return 12 hours later for my next shift, he shares with me having felt unsafe on one of the stairs in the building and even felt wind at his back on it. He can't figure out where it came from. I ask him which stairs. Of course, it's the same stairs from the 12th floor to the 11th, where I had felt it the night before. My first patrol that night, again I feel unsafe on that stairwell, and a much smaller puff of air at the back of my head. I turn and yell, "You gotta do better than that if you're really gonna scare me." Nothing else happens that shift. The building returns again to be quiet and calm. Until they tear out this creepy corridor to replace it with a modern office configuration, I always make sure to get all of the lights down before the sun goes down. Some 4 months later, I learned that one of the tenants, that a man had hung himself in that hall on the 12th floor during the 30s. Somehow this news came as no surprise to me. Meanwhile, the scaffolding still moves around at night, even with no one in the building to move it. I once or twice hear a crying sound in the basement. The first time I thought it may have been a cat, but the building manager assured me that there are no cats. It's the 3-year-old ghost, he says. He also says he doesn't believe in ghosts. So, one tenant relates being approached on the top floor by a dapper older gentleman in a very outdated suit who simply vanishes before saying anything. He thinks it's the shot lawyer. I've never seen anything there. That floor feels peaceful to me. If he is there, he is not as upset about things as the hung man on the 12th floor. Now, when they do start to dismantle that original hallway on the 12th floor, the creepy presence brooding down there becomes rather more active and a bit less predictable. I now feel it increasingly out in the main corridor that still remains essentially unchanged from the original building. At first it feels angry towards me, it wants me scared, and it wants me hurt. I dread going to that floor on every patrol. Some patrols I take the elevator from the floor above or below, look out at the floor, and then go on to the next floor and leave it at that. Then I start to feel it there in the middle of the main corridor, in front of the elevators, just waiting for me. If I take the stairs down that are next to the side corridor, I always feel a malicious presence waiting to trip me or push me down those stairs. But to be honest, I hate going there for a completely different reason as well. I can't begin to express how much I dislike the tacky changes they are making to this classic building. It feels like a violation of her beauty. On one occasion, when the creepy brooding presence seems to be absent, I look all over for what they are doing to the space that had been the side corridor, and I shake my head and honestly weep a little. It is such a front. Suddenly, I realize that I am not alone. The unseen being is there, but it is no longer angry toward me. It seems to have decided I am not part of the problem, but feel the same way about the changes as it does. It follows me down 2 more floors before it withdraws. As it leaves, it feels to me like it just can't stay away from the 12th floor, its floor, for very long at all. This changed my patrol for the remainder of the time I worked on this site. It is never again an angry, creepy experience to visit that floor. This, despite the door to the new offices in the area of the old side corridor constantly unlocking itself. I have to relock it at least 3 times a night. I often feel this presence a floor or 2 before the 12th, and it stays with me for the floor or 2 after. Sometimes I feel thoughts in my head. It's sort of like the experience I often have where I'm about to open my mouth and say something, just to have a friend or sibling say the same exact thing, like they had thought of it first, and I had somehow gotten it from them before they spoke. Or like the way I always know when my children are lying to me. They really hate that. It feels like the being wants me to know that he hadn't killed himself. This was done to him by others. This is repeated often. But then a few months later, a quiet admission, I did it, I can't take it back, accompanied with a wave of such a feeling of sorrow, regret, and remorse. Then it feels like it wants to leave here and maybe go home with me. I simply say, that will never work. My family would not want you around. That floor feels very sad for the rest of that shift. I look into it. I can never find his name or likeness of the full story of his hanging, only the rumor shared by the tenant of his death. I never have a name to call him by. Since this particular contact ended, I've never been back to that building. I suspect if I ever do return, I'll still have that strange friend waiting there for me. Today's second experience on the paranormal side. When we're children, it's common to believe that our homes are haunted and ghosts are real. For most, a day comes when the night noises of the house fade from paranormal skepticism to just the wind and foundation. However, my house had more to offer me as I grew older and older. As a child, I would be afraid to be in the home alone, even if my parents were simply outside in the yard. The house was really nice, but it was old, and being inside by myself would usually lead to me locking myself in the bathroom or hiding under my blankets while I held down the sheets until my parents came in. The reason I was so afraid of being alone inside was simple. I had a night full of terror early on in grade school, and it left me scared. When I was in the 4th grade, I had my first ever paranormal experience. I had woken up in the middle of the night and was lying on my side. Nothing felt off yet, but for some reason I woke up. We have all tossed and turned in our beds, and that is exactly what I went to do when I locked eyes on the scariest thing I had ever seen. As I rolled over, I looked toward my nightstand to check the time, and it just happened to be within the witching hour, 3 a.m. But that wasn't the scary part, because at the time I didn't even realize what that hour represented. Instead, I was shocked to see someone, a lady, standing in my doorway just beyond the short nightstand. Maybe 3 feet away stood this dark woman who appeared so frail and so creepy. I didn't speak, I didn't move, I was paralyzed with fear. Now I know what you're thinking, sleep paralysis. However, I had been awake for a while now, and was able to toss and turn in order to see this thing. So there she stood, just staring right into my soul, and the fear was so crippling, I couldn't even put it in words. I stayed awake, staring right back, what felt for hours. The ghost or thing just stood there in silence the entire night. Eventually, I must have passed out, but soon heard my mother and father wake up, and I immediately started screaming for them. I explained the entire thing, and to my surprise, I was not treated like a scared kid in the movies. My family believed I saw something, and they actually had me sleep in their room, on the floor, with their bedroom door shut for many weeks following the incident. Maybe they knew something I didn't. Like maybe a deranged family member had been snooping around. Or maybe a creepy neighbor finally had my father concerned. To this day we speak of this incident, and to this day, they all believe someone or something was in our home that night, watching me. Now the story doesn't stop there. Many friends were at a sleepover of mine about a year later for my birthday. There must have been at least 8 of us that night, when, once again, something was seen. The dead lady, we called it. Something was sitting in our enclosed patio room the night of my birthday party. Everyone saw it. The only distinguishing feature of the figure was the face. The dead woman's face that had eyes that never moved. Many friends remember this night and will vouch for what I say is real. Not a single one of these friends ever stayed the night again. As I got older, I felt way more secure in the house. I was a big guy in high school and played football. So, with my big head at that age, I wasn't really scared of anyone, even if I should have been. However, something sinister came back to our home to play with me my senior year. I'm 18 at this point, and know when I am tripping or if something is real. So, one night, as I go to sleep around midnight, I lie on my stomach, shut my TV off, with my legs spread just a bit. I feel something sit between them. You know how the sheets would be pulled tight if something were set between your legs? That's what happened. I wasn't even asleep yet when this happened. It was as soon as I had turned my back, this thing showed up to scare me. This happened many, many nights, and I complained to my parents about it so much that my father wouldn't let me sleep with my door closed anymore, and he kept the hallway lights on. He did this, not me. Now, with tensions high because several nights in a row this had happened, I was happy to finally fall asleep one night with no bedmates. However, I woke up. And was still on my stomach and comfortable. So I tried to sleep again before being disturbed by something. This time I saw nothing. Instead, something whispered my name right into my ear. Crippled again with fear, I made a fist with my hands and prepared to jump up and fight, but I simply couldn't. After a minute or so, I was able to gain my adrenaline, and I literally went from lying down to standing on my bed with a fist. I literally yelled, "Let's go," as if it was time to fight. It was around 4 in the morning, and I decided to stay awake till school, since it was already close to 7 a.m. With my home still being troublesome for my sanity, another incident occurs. This is around the same time period, and I'm still in school. I came home with my girlfriend at the time, and for whatever reason, we were in a huge argument. We were sitting on my bed talking it out, when my girlfriend went wide-eyed and pointed to the wall behind me in fear. A shadow just walked across your wall. She sounded so frightened, and our argument was instantly done. After I told her about the house's history, she told me that her and her family have had many paranormal experiences as well. I always had a feeling that maybe we were arguing because whatever shadow figure was there caused the negative energy to manifest. This would make sense for earlier years in the house as well when my parents split up for a short period. There was lots of yelling and arguing, and that's when the most paranormal things happened. Maybe we attracted them, or maybe they reached onto us. The last paranormal experience was the scariest. This one had me at about 22 to 23 years old, home alone on a beautiful sunny afternoon. At this point, I'm 6 foot 200 pounds and work at a car shop, so while it may sound cocky, I felt very strong and powerful, especially in a locked home. But this day, something ran my big self out. I was on the Xbox in my room and wanted a snack, so I went to make 2 bean burritos with leftovers from the night before. Both my cats were on the kitchen floor in front of the fridge as usual as I made my food. That's when it happened, so fast. As I lay my plate down on the counter, I see and hear it. We have 2 steps leading down into our living room, and the first thing I hear is those steps being stomped on. Then I see an all-black enormous figure running up the steps and down my hall. I'm in shock. My cats have their ears back and are watching the hall as well. I'm shirtless, shoeless, and my cell phone is in my room down that hall. Even the shotgun was down that hall. I was so scared I knew it was time to bail. I mean, this thing was tall, huge, and black. If you ever read paranormal stuff, the black figures are usually demonic or bad, and with my experiences, I was scared. A grown man, scared as a child. I played it off like I saw nothing. I was so scared that I literally acted like it unfazed me, and I say, these burritos are going to be great. Then I ran for the back door so fast, I hit the garage door opener and held the doorknob shut as tight as I could, until the garage door opened and I ran out into the driveway. What was I supposed to do now? If I go to my neighbor shirtless with a scary tale, I'll be the neighborhood loony, so I waited. Finally, my dad showed up from work, and I explained to him what happened. I even said, to be honest, it could have been an actual break-in. So, we went at it, big and bad, and as usual found nothing. We checked everything from the attic to the fireplace flue for intruders, which meant either I was crazy or another paranormal phenomenon just took place. This one was different. I mean, I saw this thing, watched it move fast, and heard it. The cats were even fazed a little by this. The thing that gets really scary is my mother soon after, and I mean like 2 weeks after, is home alone while my dad and I go watch some dirt bike racing. She texts us and asks if we're coming home yet, and we say yes. Then she sent the text to our group chat and says she's scared. I call her while my dad drives, and she explains that she's safe and hanging out in the garage, which was normal. However, she says she saw what I saw. I'm so shocked at this point. She described it as big, all black, with a black cloak hanging off of its back. Now, I don't know about you, but this thing doesn't sound like no superhero. My dad now denies the happenings in our home, and I have luckily moved out and have been safe from such experiences since. My mom tells me often of things she hears when home alone, and that she's heard doors slam while inside alone. The last tale of the house includes my mom, but not really. I was on the Xbox and I heard a door slam. It was late and I figured my mom was home from work. I heard the door, and then I heard the usual bags being placed down on the table. Then I heard the footsteps of my mom and her exact voice yell out, "Hey, I'm home," so I shouted back, "Okay." I had friends on Xbox Live at the time, and they even heard the conversation. So about an hour went by when I go to my room to see what's going on that night, when I find that my mother had left. I say this because her bags aren't on the table. I'm home alone with all the lights off. I call my mom and ask where she had gone. Her response left me cold. I'm just coming home from work now. Today's third experience on the paranormal side. So this happened in 2011. For some reason, I can't get a direct link to the story because the local news website is not working, or at least the article about it is not working, or it's broken or deleted or something. There is some mention of it online, and you can find people talking about it on forums and linking to the article, which appears broken or deleted. Just before people start calling me out for not providing a source, Google body found at James A. Reed, and you'll find out what I'm talking about. I live really close to James A. Reed. It's a memorial wildlife area of a little over 3,000 acres. It's a popular location for fishing because it has something like 12 small lakes. I consider them large ponds, but really semantics. Hiking, as there are numerous hiking trails that traverse the entire area, all of which are light hiking, nature walking sort of trails. It's a popular spot for photographers for shooting portraits, and during hunting season it's popular for bow hunting. I'm an amateur photographer, I guess. I do portraiture for the side gig. I like to fish, and I also like to go hiking. So it's basically one of my favorite places, and I go there often. I basically broke into portraiture photography by shooting school photos and couples and such at this location. It has fields with tall grass, great colors in the fall, docks, and easily accessible changes in scenery. It's basically a photographic gold mine. I still do photography, but I'm quite a bit better known at it this point, and obviously significantly better than when I was back then. But I still use James A. Reed as my go-to location for almost everything. Boy Scout troops also go hiking through the area on nature walks and such. It's just a very popular area. In the summer of 2011, a body of a 19-year-old guy was found at the wildlife park. They call it a wildlife park, but I mean the wildlife amounts to deer, fish, and a lot of snakes, squirrels, cranes, etc. I've never seen anything else there, and I've been there more times than I can count. Anyway, the story of the kid's body was a minor news story, but since I was so familiar with the area, it was interesting to me. The news report was immediately confusing. According to the report, the kid had been partying with some friends and he OD'd at the party, and the story breaks apart from there. His friends say that he wandered off and they didn't know where he went. His mother thinks, for no clear reason, that this is the operating story that the news went with, that he OD'd at this party and his friends dumped his body in the wildlife area in the middle of the night. Both of these things are pretty much impossible, and I'll explain exactly why right now. The article mentioned which lake his body was found near. It was Borderak Lake, which is pretty much the furthest lake from the entrance to the park that you can get. Getting to this particular lake requires driving down a 1.5 mile long paved road that hasn't had any service in like 2 decades. This thing is riddled with potholes that are car killers. If you don't know where they are, you will have to take the road slowly. Hitting one of these things with anything short of a full-sized pickup will likely destroy your tire and wheel. I've driven it so many times, I have the potholes memorized, and I can drive it pretty normally, weaving in and out of them when they come up. But in the dark of the night, this would be hard, especially for some drunk and high teenagers. But that, in of itself, is not impossible to do. There There are 3 gates between the entrance and where his body was found. One right at the driveway leading into the park, which is one of the large swinging steel gates. The next gate is just after that one. In order to get to Boardwalk, you need to make an immediate right-hand turn after the visitor center. And that is where you'd run into a 10-foot tall chain link fence that's meant to keep the deer in the wildlife area. This fence runs the entire perimeter of the reserve, as it's right off the highway, and they want to make sure the deer stay there for hunting season. You need to get through the second chain link fence that's chained shut every night. The park opens at sunrise and closes at sunset. After you go through that gate, you get on the previously mentioned paved road for about 3 minutes and you come to what they constitute as a ranger station, but it's a really big parking lot. From here, there's another giant fence gate that is chained shut at night. After you are through that gate, you are in the clear to get to Boardwalk Lake. The trail near Boardwalk is scenic, and I've used it for countless photo shoots. It's also a good walk through nature, so the next day my girlfriend and I decided we would go check it out, see if we could find where they found the body. I know, disrespectful, but we were going to go there anyway, so why not? Well, we did find where they found the body. We know this because the police tape was still there, but it was one chore, let me tell you. In order to get to where the body was found, you had to start on the trail near Boardwalk, and about 5 minutes into the walk, go completely off the path and through the trees to the brush, down an extremely steep slope that goes downward about 20 feet, cross through a stream at the bottom. The stream is about 3 to 4 feet deep. As it was running high through the water, doesn't move that fast though. The only reason we knew where we were going was because the original trail was high enough up that through the trees we caught the glint of yellow caution tape in the distance. When hiking, we both wore a pair of Vibram hiking shoes that didn't have any trouble with water. Yeah, the ones with the toes. But the water was still deep and we didn't particularly want to go swimming. So we walked upstream for quite a while until we found a section that was thin enough to jump across. Mind you, we walked upstream about 10 minutes before we found this, and then walked back downstream to where we had to continue in the direction of the caution tape, which we could no longer see now that we were on level with it. After a few more minutes of trudging through particularly thick brush and forest, we finally arrived at the second stream, on the other side of which was the roped off area and police tape. They actually taped off the area. The actual taped off area was pretty small, so we were able to tell pretty much exactly where the body was found. It was on a pile of rocks right on the other side of the stream. We didn't cross this stream because we had found it, and that was good enough. There was nothing to see. We had gone from Class O nature hike to a Class 2, at times Class 3 hike getting there. There was absolutely zero possibility of any drunken teenagers carrying a human body this far into the wilderness in the middle of the night, and this is after they had bypassed 3 gates, which were never reported to have been broken. This kid was way off the beaten path and was very literally in the middle of the wilderness. It was so remote that his body was there for a couple of days before anyone found it. I've done a lot of hiking, and even completely sober in the middle of the day. This was a serious challenge to get to. It's equally impossible that he just wandered away from some party in the middle of the night and found himself here. There are houses along the highway across the James A. Reed, most of which are farms, and if you go a couple miles down that highway, you do find a residential area. But the notion that he got messed up, wandered miles down the road, hopped 2 10-foot fences, walked a mile down a barely paved road, went into the forest, across 2 deep streams, sat down on a pile of rocks, and decided to OD in the middle of the forest is equally, if not more unlikely. So what happened to him? I don't know. I think it's a lot more likely they went into the forest during operating hours and all started doing drugs in the middle of the forest, and they left him where he died. But still, this is a massive stretch. I can't stress to you the difficulty of getting to this location. So Jeff, I know you're wondering why I said paranormal when it should be bad police work, right? Well, I'm getting there, I swear. So we started our retreat back to the actual trail, climbing through the trees and brush, which was now significantly more difficult because we're going uphill back to the first stream. And after that, it was a steep incline, which was definitely going to require grabbing trees and getting firm footholds and some teamwork. But before we got that far, we had to trek back upstream to get to the point where we could jump across it. And right here is where everything went strange. As we were following the stream up, we stopped dead in our tracks as a middle-aged man in a full business suit was just walking in the stream. He was a tall dude, and the water came up to around his chest. He was in a white dress shirt, a black blazer, black tie. He had a briefcase in his hand, and he was kind of letting it float behind him. He was walking downstream, coming directly toward us, but paid us no mind. We both just stopped and stared at the guy and then at each other and said, "What the?" And both of us backed up as he got closer. He passed us without saying anything or even looking in our direction. He was bald, white, probably 45 years old, fairly broad. He had a completely blank expression, and he looked like he hadn't slept in days. He had massive bags under his eyes, which were completely dead. His expression was just dead. Slightly slack-jawed, eyes glossed over. It's worth noting he was dry from the chest up, like he had just entered the water and started walking downstream. He was just walking straight down the stream very slowly. We just stood there completely silent, staring at this guy until he passed us by, and we were now looking at the back of his head as he marched forward. He could have easily exited the water at any point. The embankment was not difficult, but he just soldiered on down the stream. We now moved way faster than safely we should have been, running upstream to jump across and get back to the trail to our car, where we drove off, and both immediately started asking each other just what we had seen. We tried to tell our friends about this experience, but it was just beyond even conveying how weird it was. I don't even think I can properly put it into text and give you a proper context of just how completely eerie it was. It was just dead silent in the forest, or at least it seemed that way. All we heard was him sloshing through the water as he slowly made his way downstream to wherever he was going. I expected to read about another body being found, like this guy was off to hang himself in the woods or something. But no such news article ever appeared, but the vibe he gave off. Man, I really can't explain the feeling that seeing this guy gave us. It was like overwhelming dread, confusion, and I'm sure some terror. I really don't even know how to explain the emotions we felt. And we both agreed we didn't have words for it. It was a totally foreign feeling. Anyway, I don't really have any other notable paranormal experiences. Today's fourth experience on the paranormal side. I was relaxing on my bed, lying down watching YouTube, when all of a sudden I felt a drastic change in atmosphere. The air became thick, the temperature dropped. The lights that I was able to see through the window turned pitch black. The light from the hall turned off, and the only source of light was the one I have, which was blue at the time and didn't help the situation. When I tried to change it to a warmer light, it wasn't working. Not the remote, not even through the plug. While trying to change the little light, the light from the hall turned on, my heart skipped a beat. Sweat started to come out of every part of my body. My body started shaking uncontrollably. My vocal cords decided to shut down, but I kept trying to scream for my parents and my little brother. When my voice decided to project again, I heard no response. But the moment after a few seconds of creeping silence, I tried once more. Slowly, someone or something steps right into the hall. I freeze. Minutes later, I saw the shadow going toward the staircase, footsteps walking slowly downstairs. I couldn't move, nor make any noise. So I decided to call my little brother first. Voicemail. Called my dad. Voicemail. Called my mom. Voicemail. My panic attack kicked off. I couldn't breathe properly. My ears are making an extremely high-pitched sound. I can't stop crying, but there's nothing else I can hear besides the high pitch. But suddenly quiet. The door was open, but it moved a little bit, and I saw it. 4 long, skinny, stick-looking hands. Then another hand on top, and slowly something like a head came out, void as its eyes. I stopped everything, got back my strength, and managed to call one of my aunts. My aunt. Hello, baby, how are you? Me, I'm scared. I think there's someone in the house, but I'm scared to go out of my room. Please call Mom and Dad and see if they pick up, because they don't respond when I call them, and I'm scared. Telling me to stay in my room and that she should call and pray for me. She called. Before the thing was able to enter my room, I heard my mom talking downstairs and heard her come up the stairs. Midway, she hung up, knocked on my door, and asked what had happened. I told her everything, and what they said is they didn't hear me scream, nor get any calls from me. Any of them. I even checked for myself, nothing. Drank some water and went back to my room. 45 minutes later, my parents came upstairs to prepare for bed. My mom sticks her hands on the door the same way. I told her, while laughing. Wasn't funny, and I didn't laugh. I've slept for weeks with my room's light on now. Today's final experience on the paranormal side. About 12 years ago, my family and I were going home for a vacation, and we had to drive through several countries to get there. We finally reached our home country, where the roads are very bad and there are barely any directional signals. Plus, it was in the middle of the night. We are driving through this small village, and to our right, we see a church and a big black dog. We think nothing of it and keep driving forward for a while, thinking we left the village, and then see the same church and black dog on our right side. At that time, we thought it was strange that this town was as similar as the previous one, but still kept driving for about 10 more minutes. Might have been more, I really don't remember. And then we see the same church and the same black dog. Keep in mind that we did not make any turns. We were going in a straight line. We could literally only go forward since there were no turnoffs or anything. And we did this for a few hours because we simply could not get out of that town. Then we finally see another car on the street, a guy going home from a party and asking for directions. We follow the guy on the same exact road we took hundreds of times before. Hundreds might be exaggerated, until reaching the crossroads that we have never seen before. And from the cross, we simply went straight, and the sun started to rise, as if we finally got out of the night and that strange village. At the time, we really didn't have Google Maps. We could only use our GPS. I'm not even sure if this place we went through would even show up on any maps, given how much of a backwater town it was. To this day, we have no idea what happened that night. Well, there you have it, folks. Some paranormal and cryptid experiences to either end the night or begin the day. I hope you all enjoyed it as much as I enjoyed sharing it with you. I'd like to thank you all for supporting the channel. It is, after all, your support that keeps the channel growing and going, and honestly, what gives people a chance and a place to share their experiences and theories judgment-free, just simply treated with the respect that we all deserve. Thank you. Everyone, please stay safe, happy, healthy, and ever vigilant, keeping an eye on our children, our pets, family, and friends. These creatures are real. They are out there and dangerous. Share this information with the people you love and care about, and it may just help save their lives someday. Until next time, never stop asking questions, never stop searching for the answers, and God bless.